So hello again everyone and welcome to our latest lockdown webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly during these very difficult times while we're all working from home. And today I'm delighted to be joined by three travel agents right on the front line, dealing with their customers, dealing with all those cancelled holidays. So I'm delighted today we've got Mary McKenna, who is the founder of Tour America and Cruise Holidays. So welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
And I've also got Alistair McLean, who is the owner of Dorking Travel. So hi, Alistair.
Hi there.
And also David Walker, a.k.a. the Travel Snob, which is part of Not Just Travel. So hi, David.
Yeah.
So guys, I just really, we're 8 weeks in now. It's been a really long slog for all of you, but I just wanted to perhaps ask you where things are now with your businesses, how you're coping. And perhaps let's start with you, Alistair, because I know that you've just sent a letter to the Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab. So perhaps you can tell us what you said in that, what you're hoping that the government will listen to you and what they might say.
Yeah, there are so many mixed messages out there. But basically, what I was asking is a number of countries are looking at opening up their borders. I read and I have friends in a number of destinations, one in particular in Italy, where restaurants, bars, places of interest are beginning to open up. And so therefore, my request of the Foreign Secretary is to ask him why in these instances, why when airlines are wanting to travel, why are we being in effect barred from traveling to these destinations? And if we're going to continue with this indeterminate length of time of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office ban on travel, when are we going to get some clarity as to when that will be lifted? So if, say, for example, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office are able to say, we can lift this travel ban subject to proper measures being put in place on the 1st of July, then I can go to the customers who are still waiting to see whether or not they can go on holiday in July and August and beyond, and say, in actual fact, you can now travel. There is nothing, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office is not going to stop you from traveling. Yes, you may have a few restrictions in place when you're in the destination, but you can travel. And if that clarity can't be given, then equally I'm asking the Foreign Secretary to advise me what my recourse as a travel business would be in order to recoup some of my losses, where I'm seeing probably in a few months' time or a few weeks' time, aircraft traveling to the destinations, hotels opening, but I'm having to refund the customer, which I think is absurd.
Okay, so to help you with your planning and your communications to your clients, you just would like a little bit more of an indication when things might open. Presumably that would also help you, Mary.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it. I'm actually looking at it very realistically. And I think, Alistair, if you look at what Michael O'Leary said yesterday, it's very interesting. So Ryanair, the #1 airline in Europe, is looking at 40 to 50% load factor for the rest of the year. So to be quite honest with you, I put my strategy around nothing's really good. I'm writing off 2020, total write-off. And we're looking at some travel September, October. And it's really hard and it's really tough and it's not what you want in the business, but that's how I feel. I think there's no point. I think, for customers, we've tried to move them. And we're right up to August saying we think you should move to next year. And that's what we're doing. And that's, as I said, the realistic thing that I think is going to happen. The cruise companies are cancelling as well for the summer months. So I can't see travel for 2020, but hopefully for all our sakes, 2021 comes back. But this is bad. And I've been Lucy Truce. I lost my business overnight with September the 11th, having started it in 1995. And I thought that was really bad at the time. And this is 100 times worse if you think of what we're having to deal with, because it's globally, there's no area that's letting up. And it's been horrific, and it's been horrific for businesses. It's certainly been a tough time for every travel company in Ireland. We've actually stood together quite well as ITA members. We're really trying to get the message now. It's never been more important for customers to know what licensed and bonded meant, you know, where in the past it wasn't really important to them. And this is the luxury that we have as travel agents. Our value proposition is we are licensed and bonded, which the airlines don't have that luxury, or the cruise companies. We are licensed and bonded, and that means the customer's money is financially protected.
Okay. What about you, David? Which camp are you in? Are you hoping that the governments might step in and allow some of 2020 to, you know, just to happen, or do you think, like Mary, that you're going to write off this year? And
I'm hoping, obviously, that it's going to come off. I mean, it's really weird. We don't sell just flights and accommodation. We sell the experience, and it's really hard to know what that you know, even if the flights are going and the hotel's open, we don't know what the experience is going to be like for that customer whilst they're away. And, you know, as much as, you know, we're not getting any clarification from anybody as to what is going to be happening, even if they, you know, I'm getting most of my customers, or the majority, to rebook for next year by just saying, look, I don't know how it's going to be. We don't know about isolation. We don't know about thermo testing. We don't know enough in order for them to say, let's go, or let's not. So just rebook for next year. And then, you know, the week before you want to go away, you know, we'll book something last minute, providing we know that you're going to have a good experience. Once you get there. You know, that's the thing for me. So I'm trying to ring people that have paid a deposit and try and get the supplier to keep the deposit for next year. Some of them have paid big deposits because they've got, you know, non-IT fares on the flights, and that's all okay. But yeah, it's the not knowing, which is the worst part for any of us, really. You know, normally we're the experts and we're ringing up customers and we know the same amount as they do. You know, just what's in, and it's a conflict of messages every day, depending on how much you go onto Facebook or onto various newspapers or the news itself. Everything is saying something different. So, you know, what can we say as an agent to our customers that have come to us for advice in the first place, and then suddenly we can't really advise them?
Yeah, well, even the quarantine message from last week has changed already. We now got this air bridges idea. What do you make of that, Alistair? And you know, how do you convey that to your customer? Because they obviously turn to you, as David says, as the expert, and they expect you, I guess, to know exactly what that applies to, which countries will be in and out, and it must be so hard.
Well, there is absolutely no clarity. I mean, this air bridge idea, you know, who knows how it's going to work? I haven't yet heard, really. I mean, we're sort of reading between the lines as far as a customer leaving the country and then coming back after their holiday, needing to quarantine or not quarantine. I mean, there is no real clarity whatsoever. But I think David's got a point where, you know, he rightly says it is the experience that we're all selling. So the idea of a customer going to a hotel and being told, well, at 11 o'clock when you want to dip into the swimming pool, you can't because it's full for 20 minutes. I mean, that's obviously not the experience that customers want. But I equally think that if we had the clarity and in full knowledge that places are opening, then I believe that there is a feeling that it's down to the customer to say, yes, I am going to go in the full knowledge that it might not have been the same as I would have been traveling last year, for example. And if the customer then decides, well, I don't want to travel for whatever reason, we can then change them to next year. Personally, I'm finding that the work that I did when all of this started, rebooking people for September, October, or the end of August, I'm now having to revisit that again with completely unsure about what I'm going to be, what we're really saying. People saying, oh yes, we'll go in September, that's fine. But now, well, actually the Foreign and Commonwealth Office advice is still saying not to go. And of course, I think customers are getting very nervous about the financial security of their money. Every newspaper that we open, you know, companies, not just in travel, but companies are going to the wall. And I understand that customers who do not understand, and Mary is absolutely right, customers need to understand that we in the travel industry probably have the best security for customers' money than in any other industry that I can think of. If they understood that, then they would be able to say, okay, fine, we are going to go next year and we are satisfied that our money is safe. But at the moment, people are getting nervous and they're using the confusion as an excuse to say, I've rethought it and I now want my money back, please.
Yeah, you've had people that did originally take the refund credit notes, haven't you, who have now then, actually now I'll change my mind.
Absolutely, yeah. They want the money in their back pocket rather than, you know, in some instances when this first started, we were able, you know, being honest with the customer, I was saying to them, at the end of the day, you are propping up me as a travel agent and you're also propping up the industry. And if you're happy to do that, then fantastic. And the relationship that I think a lot of travel agents, certainly independent travel agents, have with their customers, and that honesty resulted in, I had a number of customers saying to me, that's absolutely fine, Alistair, you know, we're not desperate for that cash, we're not going to get money from interest in banks, so yes, we're happy to prop it up. But in the past 3-4 weeks, when, you know, big names are on the verge, they're getting nervous and saying, actually, you know, I don't mind if it's 6 weeks time or 8 weeks time, but I do want the money back at some stage.
Right, and are you finding that as well, Mary? We were talking before about the different stages that this whole process, you know, the panic and then trying to stay calm, etc. But where are you now? And are you finding now that you're having to go through another round of sort of explaining things to customers and perhaps giving more money back?
Yeah, so I mean, it has been stages, Lucy. I don't know if my colleagues have experienced the same, but the initial stage was bloody shock, and then just keeping it all together. So I think, you know, experience has helped on this. Ash cloud, everything that we go through as a travel industry. You know, hurricanes. I specialize in the States and cruises, so we had a good bit of experience to be able to set up home working, and that's really helped us. So what we did was different stages. So it was about two things: communication with our team, first of all, honest communication with them, and communication consistently with our consumer. And that meant me doing videos sometimes to the consumer. We kept social media going. We told them what we were doing. We explained we were having problems. Like, we still, as we sit here today, we haven't got refunds back from a lot of the cruise companies. So we understand at the beginning it was very frustrating, but we understand this is about survival. It's about survival for our industry. And I really do feel it's going to be a different world. And you know, we have to change our way, and we've worked on our strategy going forward. But so we've done that quite well. And at the beginning, I was writing to people and writing to ministers, just a bit like you, Alistair, very frustrated. I was really quoting the EU 261 law at all stages, because my greatest fear was the refunds weren't coming in from the airlines, we weren't getting refunded, and consumers, rightly so, were going crazy looking for their money. And at the end of the day, this is about a trust, as Alistair said, and individually people think for themselves. And right now in Ireland, we have half our working population out of work. So it's a very different scenario. So people need cash. So it's working with them. We've been honest. We've said, when we get the money back, we'll give the money to you. The Irish government have been very good, I have to say. And they're coming out now in the next day or two with guaranteed credit notes. So what that means for the consumer is we're now able to say, look, you know, 120 days for a refund from a cruise, we're now going to give you a credit note which is covered in our license and bond. That means the money's protected. And that's starting to happen a bit in Ireland. But it has been, look, it's been really hard for every single travel company. And it's, you know, you need airlines to survive, they're in trouble. You need the cruise companies to survive, they're in trouble. So we just need to work together. And I think consumers, this is about loyalty. And if you do the right thing with the consumer, I think they'll come back. And I'm really hoping that they'll say, you were a good company, enough for a tenner, go somewhere else, you know. And so I'm hoping that fickle behavior changes, and that the travel industry will reap the reward of what we've done for years, which is good service, licensed and bonded, and we've never been accredited for that, never. So this is the time, and I'll give one bit of advice to anybody in travel, I hope they do it in Ireland, that we literally show have the same logo, have the same theme going on, everything, licensed and bonded, your money's protected, because you only get one opportunity to do this, and people will forget in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time.
Yeah, you're nodding, David, and in fact you wrote in your column for Travel Weekly this week about how you'd picked up some customers, like to Mary's point about how she hopes people will, recognize those people that looked after them and treated them well. And I know you've picked up some new clients already, who feel that they want more of a personal service going forward.
Yeah, I mean, people having to cancel a holiday isn't our fault. And so, a lot of them are generally very deflated and upset they're not going. So I've kind of tried to send them something to keep them going. So the families going on Florida holidays at Christmas got Disney jigsaws from me. The people going on safaris got the World Wildlife Fund little animals sent through them. I've just cancelled a Borneo one today. They're supposed to be going off in August. I've got a Lonely Planet Borneo that I'm going to send them so they can read up as a family about what they're going to do next year. So I'm just still, I would normally put something in the room or send them something before they went or whatever. So I'm still proactively trying to do that. I had a big party going to Antigua. That didn't happen. So I sent a bottle of rum for them, and we ended up all doing a Zoom call, and I was part of that. And I don't know these people other than as clients. So, it's great that I'm still getting really positive feedback from them. And because I'm doing this, other people are recommending, perhaps if they book with Love Holidays, or the bigger boys where you've almost, it's taking a day to get through to them, or if they're going direct to the airlines. And so that story of he was, right on point and ringing, and, I'm making the calls, and I'm very conscious that if a customer rings me to find out what's happening with their holiday, I'm doing something wrong. So I should be on top of those calls. I'm actually to the point where I'm ringing people that are just on deposit, where their balance is coming. And I'm advising them, don't give me the money. Let's make it for next year. Let's rebook so that you have your money in your bank account, so that if by summer, Mallorca's open or Portugal's open or Greece is open, then we'll book a last minute holiday. Again, when I know what experience you're going to have, then we'll decide where you're going to go.
I mean, that's amazing that you're doing that still, because presumably you've got reduced income, but you're still doing
we've got
gifts.
no income, have we? No one's got any income in it.
Yeah, and still doing all the little gifts.
I see it as someone said to me, it's okay for you because you've got money. I necessarily don't have, but it's an investment. That's how I see it. This is the same as doing some, advertising or, whatever. It's an investment in the future to keep these customers. Some of them are new customers, so they won't have had the experience about when they get there's a bottle in their room or there's a note or whatever we've done. They won't have had that because they haven't traveled. So if I can prove that, again, they've made the right choice by rebooking, and by doing all of this, they know they've made the right choice. And I think by calling people in advance while they're at deposit, I think a knee-jerk reaction, if you just ring someone and say your holiday's cancelled, what do you want to do? The knee-jerk reaction is, I want a refund. But I'm sort of, ringing people constantly. Letting them know what their options are going to be. And then nearer to the time, right, what are we going to do? And they've already thought about it. So the majority of them are rebooking. But because then they've only put a deposit down. So they haven't put that full commitment. Initially, when it first happened, of course, we were ringing people that were going on holiday tomorrow and next week, different thing. But I've learned now, let's get the people early, a deposit. It's not a big chunk for them to move and put towards next year. They're going to go on holiday next year. They've got the money in their account that they would be giving me now for this year. Keep it. Let's see what's open. Let's see what's available. Let's see where the best places are to go, if anywhere, in the summer, and we'll book you something then.
Okay. And how are you playing it, Alistair? Similar, or and also the whole issue, as David points out, around balanced due dates looming. That becomes extra pressure, doesn't it?
Well, again, that's very difficult because of the clarity. So again, if you've got people who are wanting to travel in, say, sort of end of July, August, and their balance is due, the gut feeling is that they're not going to travel. And I mean, I think David's idea is absolutely superb to sort of say, okay, fine, let's not pay the balance and let's move that till next year. But that relies on the relationship that the that you have with the tour operator. Some tour operators have been extremely good. Some tour operators are not being as good. And I also think, you know, having been in this industry for 30 odd years, I think one of the things that this has completely exposed is, in some cases, the lack of personal relationships that this industry has. We all, in this industry, we all love this industry. You know, I speak to people who say, I wouldn't be in any other industry. Not recently, I have to say, but you know, in the past, people said I wouldn't do anything else. But I've found that where I have a good relationship, whether it be with the rep who comes into the shop, I've been able to pick up the telephone and say, listen, can you do me a favour? And 9 times out of 10, they can. But of course, a lot of the on the road reps are now furloughed. So we don't have a relationship with necessarily with that particular organisation. And that organisation, the tour operator, it appears to me, doesn't have a relationship maybe with the airlines. So it's a really difficult one to square the customer to say, actually, don't pay the final balance, and trust me, your holiday will not be arbitrarily cancelled by the tour operator and you'll lose that deposit. And again, we're finding that some operators are saying, well, if you want to move the holiday, we can, but we need a date from you. And that's difficult. You know, not everybody knows what they're doing next week, let alone next year. So I think all of that is extremely difficult. But I agree with both David and Mary. It comes down to, I hope, going forward, that customers aren't going to turn around and say, well, actually, I can save £50 by going on .com. I would prefer to come in and speak to a human being. And if anything goes wrong, experience has told me that you're in a good place to resolve it. And I've actually had conversations with customers and said, listen, you just sit back, enjoy the sunshine, pour another gin and tonic. I'll take the wrap, I'll sort it out for you. And I'm pulling my hair out, you know, doing all of the work as every other agent is doing for absolutely nothing. And I do hope that that loyalty will survive. I have to say, I'm pretty pessimistic that it will, because people's habits are that if they can buy something a little cheaper down, you know, from .com or wherever it is, they'll soon forget that loyalty, I think.
But is that why Mary's idea might be a good one? Because you're saying in 6 months, people have short memories. Unless we take this opportunity now to really hammer home the value of an agent. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And I think that's the other thing that we in this industry, we don't value ourselves. We don't put a value on what we do. I've spoken to a number of friends of mine who are in different professions, the legal profession, for example. And I've gone to them and said, for those house purchases that are no longer happening, are you refunding the conveyancing fees and all the work that you did to that customer? And they look at me as I've grown 2 heads and said, no, we're not, we've done the work. And I'm saying to them, but I've done all of the work for the holiday that has now been cancelled, and I'm having to refund that. They don't understand it. And they've said to me, the industry needs to put a fee on what we do and value ourselves. And whether or not we will, I don't know, but I hope that we will.
Well, it would be a fantastic thing and probably the right thing to do. But of course, it's going to be hard when people are financially, it's good that people are not going to want to pay more money for anything at the moment, are they, when they've got limited income? So everyone's
got to do it. Every travel agent, tour operator has to do it for it to work. But
yeah.
It's not going
and
to
so
happen.
who should police that, or who should bring that in and police that?
Well, I think that if there was a fee that we, as a travel agent, I could say to a customer, if anything goes wrong with this holiday, in terms of the fact that you can't go, there's a terrorist problem, etc., etc., I'm going to keep my commission or a portion of that commission. So I'll refund you less the work that I've done. Now, I'm not sure how many consumers would actually say, oh, all right, or just go, oh, hang on a second, I'll just sit down to the next travel agent that won't do that. So I think that if we in the industry, and it's a big ask, but if we in the industry going forward said we put a value on what we have done, the amount of work that we have researched over many years in providing people with the inspiration and the holidays, we put a value on that and retain that, then all the agents, all the operators have to do it. But as I say, it just needs one loose cannon to say, oh, well,
it's all or nothing, isn't it? What do you think to that idea, Mary?
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you. I think, Alistair, the opportunity is to show what is the difference between somebody organising their own holiday, because the airlines have really become tour operators in Ireland anyway, Aer Lingus and Ryanair. So we've had that for years where they're putting stuff together. So now when it goes wrong, they kind of go, oh my God. But travel agents seem to be, for some reason, Lucy, bottom of the barrel. And yet, if you were getting a kitchen done, Lucy, and you were spending 25,000 euros on a kitchen, that company does not need to be licensed and bonded. However, we do need to be licensed and bonded. So I think that message, I think we've done a bad job of getting that message out. And, you know, look, I spoke to the president of the ITA, Pat Dawson, yesterday, and I said to him, so my ITA to him was, when everybody applies for their membership of the ITA, let's make it worthwhile. So they have to sign a contract when they're doing the contract and say they'll use this logo, they'll use this stamp on everything to show license and bonded, because what happens is we're individually going about our business, but we're not sticking together as a group. So we need to have the same message. And there's a company in Ireland called Borbia, which represents farmers and food, and they have done a really good message of saying this is Irish made beef or whatever. And we fail to do that. And this is an opportunity to do it, because consumers need to know what the difference is, and they don't. And now they are finding out, okay, money's protected, but we still haven't got that message, because there's nobody in the media who's looking for our story. They're looking for the airline story, but they don't seem to be looking for the travel agent or tour operator. And Alistair, just getting back to your point about some travel agents not doing the right thing or tour operators, I think it's really important that they're named and shamed. And I think there has been a lot of bad practices going on. And what has really annoyed me is, you know, we have to take care of our customers and relationships, and doing the right thing is so important, and it's about integrity. A lot of these big organizations, like David, I heard you mention Love Holidays, they are being slammed in Ireland. Like, you come in with low prices. I don't even know them, to be quite honest, but everything, social media is transparent. They're going, can't get through, no refund, horrendous service, horrendous. I don't care what they're selling it at. What they're doing to the consumer is awful. Now, we can play that and say, that is what we don't want. We want good customer service. And most travel agents in Ireland have done a really good job in contacting the customers, taking care of them, exactly what David and Alistair have been doing. And I'm talking on behalf of my own industry. I think they've done a good job. And some companies have done an atrocious job.
Yeah, I mean, David mentioned, Alistair mentioned about how it's very difficult to, some operators want a date and it's really hard to then, you know, get that booking in for next year. And one of the things we've had lots and lots of communication about is that the holiday next year is then more expensive. So that's becoming really hard to encourage.
And that's wrong, Lucy. And that's wrong.
Well, exactly. It seems wrong, but it seems to be rife, Mary. So, you know, how do we stop that happening? Because that would help you all as agents to rebook for next year. If you haven't got to say, well, I'm sorry, it's going to be another 600 quid per person or whatever it is.
The people that have been better at it are the people that, so the likes of Beachcomber and Sandals, where they own the property. So they're just taking an extra hit on the flight prices being different, but they're keeping the accommodation the same, which is great.
Okay.
So I think that one thing I've learned from all of this is, I mean, I've done over £200,000 of new business since this all started, but the difference now is that we're explaining to the customer the what ifs in case it happens, whereas, you know, what I'm adding on now to my sort of spiel when I do a new booking, I wouldn't have dreamt of doing before. But it's all about, well, if this does go wrong, then this is likely to happen. We'll just move the dates. You know, if this goes wrong, and I'm getting stuff in writing. I just did a massive ski booking at Christmas, but I've got it in writing from the supplier that they would get a refund if it doesn't happen.
Wow.
You know?
Okay, but is that the way it's going? Is that the way it's going? That
That's
from
what
now
I've
on,
done a lot on of them, yeah. So all the new bookings that I've done, not rebooks, but new bookings.
yes,
I've kind of had it clarified. What if? I mean, the earliest one I've done is October this year,
right.
and she knows, she just wants to go away. So she knows that if it doesn't happen, we will just move the dates, because
But you've got it in writing from the tour operator. And
yes.
I mean, is that feasible? I mean, I know at the moment you're not rushed off your feet.
Well, just to move the dates. Yeah,
No, I know, but I mean, if things were, you know, if once we get back up and running and you're busy with lots and lots of bookings, let's hope, fingers crossed. But you know, is that a feasible thing to do on every booking, that you've got to go to the tour operator and get the what if scenario and the guarantee, you know, in writing that what will happen if something were to go wrong? Because you're right, David, we could have another, you know, flare up of this disease or another pandemic. You know, we've got to be prepared, haven't we, for the future? What do you think, Alistair? Do you think that's something that you could incorporate into your spiel and into every booking?
Well, I think it's difficult because it really, as the agent, we're basically the messengers. So if, say, for example, the tour operator said, "Well, no, our standard terms and conditions apply," you know, you're saying some things with some operators and others with other things with others. I think, I mean, I like the idea, yes, to be able to give the assurance to the customer that if the holiday does not happen because of another COVID or because of a terrorism incident, then yes, you're covered. But in actual fact, that's the case now. I mean, all of the PTR rules, etc., we understand that why they have been somewhat relaxed. But in actual fact, customers are legally entitled to their money back at the moment, just in the same way that last year when people couldn't go to Sri Lanka, they were legally entitled to change their holiday or to a refund. So I think we've got that covered, but I think, as David has said, I think, and as Mary said, I think the conversations that we're going to now have with our customers are going to be a lot more lengthy conversations to give them the assurance and the confidence that actually maybe another £50 on top of the bill than if you did it on a .com. The reason that's the cost is because if something goes wrong, you can pick up the telephone to me, you can get through within 5 rings, you can go through the shop door, you can sit down and you can talk to me about it. And as I said earlier, you, the customer, can pour your gin and tonic and I'll sort it out for you. And the thing that I question is the loyalty of even the most loyal customer, how much they're going to remember all of this in 12 months' time. You know, that I think is a real issue. And I think, you know, picking up on Mary's point, we do need to really enforce what we as an industry do in terms of protecting people's money. You know, and as a travel agent or a tour operator, we're in the best position. You know, I wouldn't buy a second-hand car off somebody in a pub. You know, they might not be delivering it next week. If I go to a main dealership, I'm pretty most certain that if anything goes wrong, I can take it back. It should be the same with the travel industry. I don't know why people, you know, click on buy it and it's, you know, £10,000 and they part with £10,000, you know, at a click of a button. I wouldn't do it, but then I'm old-fashioned and I like the travel agency model. So I think we've got a lot of opportunities, ironically enough, as from all of these issues. It's just how we, I think, grab those opportunities, how we enhance them, and how we move forward as an industry.
Okay. All right. I'm conscious of time, and a couple more things I just wanted to ask you about. I mean, you sort of touched on it, Alistair. You're saying you're doing all this work, and you know, and yet you've obviously not getting paid for it. And I just wonder how. I mean, do you employ lots of people, and how have the sort of government job retention schemes, and has that been enough to help you? Or, I mean, I think, David, you're a one-man band, are you? Or
I've got one man. Well, I've got 2 others, one full-time, one part-time. The full-time is furloughed, And the part-time was very much self-employed, so she just billed me for an hourly rate. So
okay, all right. So hopefully that furlough scheme's working for you. But Mary, you've got a number of people.
Yes, I have 50 staff, and so the Irish government have been quite good actually. So we set up half our team from home, half that could work. We actually did have some issues with some of the staff, might have had young kids, couldn't work from home. We had some staff that didn't have good broadband, believe it or not, and we had some positions that we just couldn't utilize at this time. So they're all on the government COVID scheme, which is €350 a week, which is actually quite good. And then the government subsidy has helped then with, so I have half my team working, that's subsidized by the government. So that has been helpful. But Lucy, just to remember something, the way I look at it is, in particular, we had thousands of people stuck in the States when Donald Trump said stop, you can't go into the States. And we had to spend 24 hours while all this was going on, 24 hours trying to get consumers back home to Ireland. Then we had to close our office, 2 offices in Dublin, 1 in Cork, and our office in Orlando on the 18th of March. And so we were servicing bookings that we've already paid the fixed costs for previously.
Yeah.
And any of the money that we made previously on that, now you're giving it back. So I'm very lucky because we're going to be 25 years in October, and it's been a journey that doesn't go like that. It's been up, down, and I suppose the different things that have gone through in travel that we've had to deal with has really been important in terms of agility and resilience. So I'm lucky the company is financially, I ran it as a business on a lifestyle, but we're bleeding cash at the moment, and everybody's bleeding cash. So I'm looking at the worst case scenario, write this year off. I want to be there for 30 years in business. I'm looking even at 2021 not being a great year, and I'm looking at reality, and I'm running my business according to that. And that's why I've set up Zoom holidays as well. I don't see the retail coming back. And I have to be honest in that. I just can't see the logistics. And all I'm doing is studying at the moment, watching Bloomberg, CNBC, listening to all speakers, and not one of them of anyone I've listened to has said this is going to turn around and this is going to be fine. It doesn't look good for the next year and a half. So I'm just going to run the business and the strategy around that worst case scenario, and then we can build up. You know, again, customers' confidence and trust is really important, and I hope that is what gets us into the future. And social media, and this is where reviews on Facebook, you know, most travel companies block them because they don't want people giving out about them. But I think if you leave them there, that's transparency, and people like honest companies. So that's what's really helping us. We're getting very good feedback from consumers saying you're actually taking very good care and you care about. And like my 2 colleagues here, I really hope that pays off, because we're getting bookings in, but they're trickling in. It's not worth even talking about.
And just very quickly then, just tell us about Zoom holidays, because we wrote about this week. It's a new initiative that you've launched, and so how is that going to work?
Well, I actually registered virtual travel and virtual holidays in November for some unknown reason. I don't know why. But Zoom holidays, I mean, the moment I heard Zoom, I'd never heard of Zoom before when this happened in March, to be quite honest. I'm not that techie, actually. And I've always thought about the interaction with the consumer, but the first few days I went, life is changing so much. And I thought what's important about our business is face-to-face interaction with our customer, and they like it. So I registered Zoom holidays and Zoom travel immediately. And I spoke to the staff, and at first they were like, oh, I don't really know. But now consumers are saying, actually, we really like it. It's a very trendy name at the moment in the whole world. So why not? So we have backgrounds that go on. We can share prices, information, videos of cruise companies, pictures of hotels. So again, it's getting the team up, and they seem to really like it. And so far, we're doing a couple a day. Consumers are really liking it.
So a couple of appointments a day, or?
Yeah. No, each staff is doing a couple of appointments. So half the team are working. So look, it's this is about resilience. This is our strategy going forward. All I know is the goalposts have changed, and that's what happens in business. So I'm trying that, and so far it looks it's doing very well.
And is it getting good? And presume, I bet people, as you say, it's a trendy word. So I imagine people are typing Zoom into Google all the time, and I guess Zoom holidays.
Hopefully they get us.
Hopefully they'll get Zoom holidays, yeah. And then I guess the idea is that you book an appointment, and a person will call them and set up a Zoom call somebody who's an expert in
and they can
cruise
go
or...
through stuff on screen, like you can share information.
Yeah.
And I work with a business coach, and so our alternative board is done on Zoom. So I suppose even seeing the way that works, you know, we said, okay, we can put all this information on Zoom as well. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. And look, I can't really see too much else, but I'm going to give everything a go. And I'm a glass half full girl. So
good for you, good for you. What about the other two, just before we finish? Any sort of new initiatives or ideas from either of your businesses?
I'm just cracking on as I did before, really. Again, for me, it's about service, and it's about excellence, and, you know, about people wanting to book with me, and me sort of deciding if they can or not. That's always kind of been my attitude. You know, I've had, I would say, my bookings that I've done are half new, half repeats, which has been really good. And the news have come in from referrals just because of what I've been doing, as it were. I think that I've learnt which suppliers I'm going to use a lot more and which suppliers I'm going to avoid, especially at the moment.
Do you think that will last? Do you think you really will have some that you'll drop going forward?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, not the way they've treated me. That's not me personally, but just how they've been in their, you know, I'm an agent. So therefore I'm an agent for my suppliers. And I've kind of realized who I want to use more, and who I want to give business to, as opposed to who I really don't want to promote anymore. You know, that kind of thing. It's been.
And you've got to name and shame it, as Mary says.
No, I don't think it's right, because they might. I've still got bookings outstanding with them, so
okay,
you know, that's not right.
You already mentioned Love Holidays.
I know. But yeah, I just, you know, it's got to end. We need some clarity. When that comes through, I don't know, but I think our lives will change as agents when we know more what's happening.
Yeah. And final word from you, Alistair, bringing it right back to your letter. I mean, you know, you've asked for clarity, but you've said, if not, what kind of recompense, what kind of compensation might the government be prepared to give you as an agent for all this lost money? Are you really hopeful that they're going to give you anything?
Absolutely not. No, but it just makes the point that we're losing money hand over fist. But, you know, I'm with David. You know, at the end of the day, I'm trying to service the customers, hopefully get some good sort of PR from it as well. And failing all of that, Lucy, I'm going to become a hairdresser. So there you go.
We all need one of those.
Exactly.
You could do my roots. That would be fantastic. All right. Well, listen, it's been a joy talking to you all. Mary, I absolutely hope you get to your 30 years. I'm sure you will. You're so innovative, and you are so.
I'll have a party. You
yeah. Well, we'll all be. We'll all three of us will come to that.
Well, a Zoom party, presumably.
Yeah, it could be that way. But yeah, to all of you, Mary, to Alistair, and to David, as I say, it's been a pleasure, and I wish you all the very, very best of luck. And anything we can do to support you at Travel Weekly, then we will do. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Lucy. Thanks for having us on today. It was great.
You.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Bye.